Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going to go over UFC 266, Ortega versus Volkanovski. First things first, we're going to start with last week. We did really well, in all honesty. I personally could have had a lot. I could have had a lot bigger night. Again, I tried to bet on every fight. In regard to the picks, we went 4 for 6. We did struggle in the totals a little bit, but we did call the Hannah Goldie upset, as well as the locks last week. So at that juncture, went 4 for 6 on picks. Not the worst in the world, but again, we're trying to hit all 6, including the dog picks. So we've done it before. We've gotten every single fight predicted correctly once, and that's the goal. If you did it once, you know it can be achieved again, and we're determined to do it again. But this week, I generally tend to, for whatever reason, do better on those lower level cards than I do on the pay-per-views. And we're looking to turn that luck around. We want to do well on every single event. We put in extra work knowing of our pay-per-view streak. So we're ready to get this thing started and get some winners in here. And you know what? You just can't be scared. I think I'm scared to pull the trigger when it comes to pay-per-views. And with this card, I'm sniffing a lot of dog upsets here. So we'll start with the very, very first fight of the night. We're looking at Omar Morales as a minus 165 favorite up against Jonathan Pierce at plus 130. In all honesty, over under set at 2.5. In all honesty, Omar Morales is probably the better fighter. He definitely has a tougher schedule. His striking's okay. I just, for whatever reason, I cannot stand when people are wrestlers or people are jiu-jitsu guys and they only want to strike. It just bothers me. I don't know why it irks me so badly. Because it does. I know exactly why. Because I know they have a path to win that they're not taking, and that's just not someone I really want to back. However, he did against Shane Young, who's a pretty good striker. He came out on top. It was pretty obvious. The Giga fight, I know I had a bet on him, and he ruined a lot of people's nights that night when Giga destroyed him. Gabriel Benitez, quality win. Dung Yama, it's an okay win. It's not like he's going in there and beating scrubs. And again, he was doing what he was supposed to before that. He was undefeated with a whole bunch of finishes. Again, his striking's okay. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. He does have good jiu-jitsu. His wrestling's And I think that's part of the reason we don't see him use his black belt so much, because he has to initiate the takedown, and it's just not really his strongest asset. His cardio is also kind of he does slow down in fights. He doesn't gas, but he does slow down. At that juncture, you're looking at his opponent in JSP, good old Jonathan Pierce. He's also someone that I've been trying to fade, but I just can't really seem to get right. When you go back and you watch the fight tape, it's weird. He doesn't look that good. But he is young, and you do see constant improvements every single time. He's not super young, but he's 29, and the last time we saw him was a year ago. So, and he looked real good in that Kai Kamaka fight. He finished him with ground and pound, and that's the first time and only time Kai Kamaka has ever been finished. In retrospect, we've also seen the bad JSP that I've also seen in fight tape where he got absolutely demolished in a minute and a half by old Joe Lozon, not Joe Lozon, like 2019 Joe Lozon. That's not a good look. Outside of that, you look at his other losses. He's getting submitted quite often. So then you're like, is that an Achilles heel? It's just, he's all over the place. The only thing with him, his striking seems okay. It seems to get, it's pretty good, honestly. It's getting better and better. Every time I see him fight, you see constant improvements. His wrestling's okay. It's not terrible, but he will struggle the higher he goes up. I don't know how Omar is pretty good takedown defense, so this jump up in competition is kind of questionable. His jiu-jitsu is a little questionable considering out of his 4 losses, he's got tapped out twice, and one was ground and pound, so we kind of covered him up. So the only reason in this fight, I think JSP striking is I think it's 50-50 in all honesty. So I was thinking it's 50-50, but Omar has good takedown defense. I'm probably going to have to just side with Omar. I'm probably going to pass from this fight. But then I saw something that makes me always take a shot at least. Is that JSP moved his fight camp to Fight Ready, and I am undefeated, literally picking people from Fight Ready. They don't lose. I know, what was his name? Saldana lost going to Fight Ready, but I literally said on the pod that I don't trust him. I don't want to bet him. I just couldn't pull the trigger on him because of who he is, no matter where he's at. JSP is another one of these where I just can't seem to get right. I don't think he's going to beat Omar easily, but with that camp, it's given me enough emphasis to at least take the shot. So the pick is actually going to be JSP. The bet, if you want to start your night off, that's the thing. It's the first fight of the night. I'd probably just stay away, in all honesty. It makes it easier to stay away since it's the first fight of the night. But if you need to bet on every single one, I would say the value is on JSP there. So I'd probably bet on him. Next, we have, these fights did keep going in and out. I don't have the over-unders all listed on here with their values. So we're going to stick with picks this weekend. Which brings us to the next fight of the night. We have Matthew Semmelsberger as a minus 475 favorite going up against Martin Sano. Let's start with Semmelsberger just because he actually has a record. He's coming in at 8-3. He's one of these guys that also wasn't like he wasn't pro MMA right away. I think he did a little bit of football for a little and then transitioned over into MMA. So you do see him being a late starter, and you see him getting better and better. He does hit hard. Don't get me wrong. Even in his loss to Chaos Williams, his last fight, he did clip him with some clean shots. He does mix in his wrestling, which I happen to love a lot. In regards to his jiu-jitsu game, haven't seen a ton of it. It is a little bit of a question mark. Otherwise, he seems pretty durable. I know he has a KO loss and a submission loss. He actually has 2 KO losses, but again, Chaos also clipped him with some pretty big shots, and he was able to eat those. If he can take them from Chaos Williams, I don't think Sano is going to knock him out at all. And I just love the amount of volume. He is someone that prefers to counter. However, if you're not pressing forward, he will go ahead and he will initiate. And because he has a lot of volume there. But then on the other hand, you have his opponent who actually prefers to go forward and pressure. The problem is he keeps his hands super low, his chin super high in the air. He can't wrestle. His Brazilian jiu-jitsu is supposed to be his best quality. If you see, he even has a win over Jeff Neal somehow. Gosh, it's MMA, man. Anything can happen. He has a win over Jeff Neal in his second ever fight. Other than that, man, he's in the UFC off of a draw in Bellator. He has a loss in World Series of Fighting, a loss in Bellator, then he has a draw in Bellator, and now he's in a UFC. It doesn't make sense. You're saying, how the hell is this guy in the UFC? It's because, and he has poor cardio. So he literally has no wrestling, an okay ground game, but no striking. Like, the reason he's here is just the whole like Jacob Malkoun effect. You look at Izzy had a boy come in and fight. He fought Kennedy just because he knew Izzy on the card. You had Jacob Malkoun come in and fight just because he's training partners with Robert Whitaker. Insano is a Diaz. He also trains at Cesar Gracie, and he knows the Diaz bro. So that's why he's here. The UFC was nice enough to get him a fight. However, it's not against. You would think they'd give him the most winnable fight he has. Semmelsberger is at the bottom there, but he's not the worst fighter in the welterweight division, especially someone that you see keep getting better. So it's easy money picking Semmelsberger. The problem is he's a minus 475 favorite, and it's just getting higher and higher. I'd actually take the under. The way that Martin charges up with his chin in the air as he swings, even though he's not the best striker, he will consistently pressure and try to do some damage. I think he's going to get caught because Semmelsberger hits hard and he likes to counter, and he's going to put him out pretty early. So I'll bet Semmelsberger. Honestly, I'd probably bet him. He's not going to do submission, so I'd probably bet him by KO or bet the under, whichever it gives you the best odd. Otherwise, we move on to the next fight of the night. Speaking of people that are getting shots just because they know the Diaz bros, we have Nick Maximoff going up against Cody Brundage. They actually just made this fight today. Nick was supposed to fight Carl Roberson, and it was a pick'em. I was all over Carl Roberson, ready to lay the hammer on Carl Roberson, give me all the chalk. But Carl Robeson had to pull out. And this is where we're at a weird circumstance because Nick, with the fight tape I saw, I know that I kind of criticized Martin striking. Nick has no striking. I literally could not find striking on him. I'm watching his fights and he just shoots from takedowns really far away. Like there's no setup. He just goes in the moment someone throws a strike at him. I don't know what his striking is like because I physically haven't seen it. He just shoots a takedown right away. I guess his jiu-jitsu is supposed to be pretty good, but he just seems to be more position over submission. He just wants to control you down there if he can get on top. Level of competition, god awful. I mean, even looking at his contender series fight, yeah, he has a contender series win, but he took the fight at heavyweight against someone that like works at Big Lots. Like it wasn't an impressive win. Honestly, it was a gimme fight for him. They're just trying to do him a favor. There's an Oscar Coda. In all honesty, even with him taking those shots all the time, his wrestling seems a little questionable. He's super young, super young. How old is he? He's 23 years old. And then at the same time, the few little striking videos I saw, he is hittable. Any sort of striking I saw, he was getting clipped before, and which made him take the shot. So I can't. I just physically can't. Then I look over at his side though, like Cody Brundage is just taking this fight on like 3 days notice. And I know he generally he also fought in the contender series and he got knocked out by William Knight. I was at light heavyweight. He's taking this fight at 3 days notice at middleweight. So that's a little concerning as well. Even for Nick, like he's a middleweight, but his contender series fight was a heavyweight. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in this fight. This is a total stay away. The things what I saw in regards to Cody, his striking isn't really existent either, in all honesty. But I don't think it's going to matter. Neither one of them can strike. They're both going to try to wrestle. In all honesty, Cody's wrestling looked a little better. And he's also someone that's a little position over submission. Difference with Cody is he does come out of a decent camp as well, Factory X Muay Thai. And he does have a few knockout wins at least, so there's something there. He has some resemblance of striking, but it just didn't look the best when I was watching it. And I mean, level of competition is kind of low too, but it is better than Nick. He did fight Brian Battle, even though he lost. It was a split decision loss. Brian Battle just won the Ultimate Fighter in middleweight. Also, he fought again. William Knight is in the UFC. He's decent. And when I look at Nick's level of competition, red flag. And I said, I will never bet on someone where you watch their fight tape and you have to go on Facebook to watch it. Red flag. I will never bet on a Facebook fighter, period. So at that juncture, even on 3 days notice, I'll pick Brundage and the bet, stay the hell away. For 3 days, I don't know. If Nick's actually decent on the ground, I do think Cody's a better wrestler. So I'd probably just take the over. If Cody's on top and can't submit him, that's the only way I could go. Because I can't pick either one of them because neither one of them have striking. Neither one of them are going to be able to tap each other out. I don't like this fight at all. So I would take the over, or in all honesty, stay the heck away. But one fight I'm not staying away from is this next one. We got Euros Med going up against Jalen Turner. Medic as a minus 130 favorite. Jalen Turner, even money. In all honesty, I know I just made fun of Nick saying I'm not betting on Facebook fighters. Other people I try to fade. Thank you. Thanks to the Die Hard MMA podcast. Alaska FC fighters. Can't trust them. Can't trust them at all. They boost their records so much. It's not even fair. They don't fight people with actual records. These people they're fighting is god awful. He is fighting terrible, terrible competition there. His first fight was against someone that was 2-0, 4-4, 1-4, 0-1, 5-0, and then 7-1 in the contender series. That was a questionable 7-1, and then Elon Cruz was 8-3, but he's god awful too. So he has had the easiest road, and that's why every single one of his wins you see are in the first round, or the longest he's been in an octagon is 51 seconds into the second round. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. Especially at welterweight, someone's going to drag him into deep waters. And when he does, so I mean, part of the reason is because Euros does have decent striking. It's pretty good. And he does have a ton of power. I will give him that. He can crack, man. It's just, we don't know what he's like. and it's going to be easy to go out there and look like a killer against people that are 0-4 and 1-4 and 4-4. Of course, you're going to look at a killer on the regional scene fighting people without winning records. But then if you fight someone that's actually decent and you actually take you into the second round, what do you look like? And that's exactly what Jalen Turner is. He's a prospect. He's decent. He's not a major step up. It's an appropriate step up for him. But I think this should at least be a pick 'em because Jalen Turner, I mean, he lost. Yes, he has 5 losses. Yes, he has 3 losses via knockout. So it's not like he's the most durable guy in the world. But at the same time, I mean, he got knocked out in the 3rd round. He gassed a little bit when I watched. He got caught early, 11 seconds in, and then he got knocked out by Vicente Luque when he took a fight up a weight class on short notice. Like, you can honestly, moniker shit happens, man. You can get caught in 10 seconds. It's MMA. You can get knocked out in the 3rd round because you're gassed. It happens. It's a learning experience. This kid is young, man. He's 26. When he lost in the 3rd round and got knocked out, he was that was in 2017. That was 4 years ago. He was 22 years old. And then he was sitting here fighting Vicente Luque on short notice a year later at 23. When I was 23, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I honestly couldn't tell you. I think I was like working at Subway. Like, there's no way that I can fault him for that at all. And all I can tell you is that he's getting better and better. He has great striking. I know he used to train out of Duke Rufus for a little bit. I think he did move, which is probably for the best. Duke Rufus is struggling right now. But he's huge for the weight class, man. This dude's 6'3", fighting at lightweight, and he's jacked. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know how he makes it. He has good takedown defense, so Euros isn't going to really want to take him down. He has a significant reach advantage, so Euros is going to have to get in close. And he's huge. He has the more experience. It's just his submissions are better. He has a sneaky good ground game that no one ever talks about. He's beaten Josh Kulabau, it's not like he's the biggest name in the world, but he's something. Brock Weaver, he was in the UFC, he was something. He has decent wins. Euros does not. So if you're going to give me plus money on him, I know right now the line is moving. I got in on Jalen Turner ASAP. I got him at plus 105. The last time I checked, he was at even money. So if you're going to do it and take him as a dog, do it now before the line flips. So the pick is going to be Jalen Turner. The bet is going to be Jalen Turner. Just hope you can get some plus money on it. Then next fight of the night, we have Tyler Santos going up against Roxanne Modafferi. Good old Roxy is a plus 290 dog, and I think it's just climbing. Minus 405 on Tyler Santos at the current moment. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with her. She's pretty good grappling. Her striking's okay. She does like to pressure you. That seems to be where she's best. And her wrestling seems okay as well. So, I mean, she's fine at all 3 levels. It's just she has a little bit of an inflated record as well. She did get exposed in her first fight in the UFC. She lost a split to Mara Borella, which is not a good look. But then, I mean, coming in and smashing Molly Meatball McCann is awesome. Coming in and out grappling Jillian Robertson is super, super hard to do. So, I mean, she has 2 good wins. She bounced back from that. It could have been UFC jitters. But at the same time, I just don't like the people she was fighting. I mean, in all honesty, yes, she's 17-1, I believe it says. But when you look at her record prior to the UFC, the girl she beat to get in the UFC was in Contender Series. She was 7-1. But to get to Contender Series, she beat someone that was 0-1. If you're 13-0, why are you fighting someone that's 0-1? Before that was 0-1, 3-1, 0-0, 0-1, 0-0, 0-0, 0-1, 1-3, 2-1, 0-1, 0-1, 1-0. Why is she only fighting people with no more than 1 wins for like 16 fights straight? It doesn't make any sense. So originally I was taking a look at Roxanne because all she does is win money when she's plus money. However, I did hear that she does have some sort of leg injury, which forced her to withdraw the first time. I don't think it's fully healed. And that does concern me. I mean, because her striking's okay. It's getting better. I don't like how much she's using it as of late. She predominantly likes to wrestle. That's where she's best at, and just controlling you down on the mat. But she fancies herself a striker. It has gotten better. She wants to show it off, but there's a time and a place for everything, and she's losing fights because of that. Otherwise, she's definitely fought the tougher girls and like Macy Barber and fighting people. Oh gosh, Lauren Murphy, who's fighting for the title. I feel like Roxanne has fought everyone. You can just as much as I love Roxanne being an underdog, I can't pull the trigger again on her. So honestly, I would stay away from this fight. The pick is going to be Tyler by default. The bet, there's no value in that. I guess I'll take her by decision, but you're still not going to get good value on that. So it's just an utter pass at that juncture. All right. And then I'm sorry if there is a little pause. There's been some technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to soldier on through. So nothing's going to stop us from getting these fights out. So speaking of fights that are determined to go through, we got Chris Daukaus going against Shamil. Gosh, I can never say his name. Abdurrahmanikov. We'll start with Shamil, in all honesty. Shamil is the plus 115 dog, minus 190 on Chris Daukaus. The thing with Shamil is he's older. He's not a lot of big name recognition. The guy that no one wants to fight because it's a tough fight and no one realizes it's a tough fight. I mean, when you look at his losses, he's 20-5. He lost to Derek Lewis, got knocked out, which, I mean, it's Derek Lewis. He got knocked out by Curtis Blades, ground and pounded. I mean, it's Curtis Blades. Tony Lopez, Tim Johnson. I mean, I've heard of them. And then Thiago Santos way back in the day, 2009. So it's not like he's losing to no-name guys. He is pretty good striking, in all honesty. Oh, excuse me. He does circle a lot and just kind of picks his moments. His cardio seems to check out a little bit. And his wrestling's okay. He's just really just kind of okay everywhere. Nothing good, nothing bad, just kind of okay everywhere. So at that juncture, then you look over at Chris Daukaus, who's the new hotness right now. Chris Daukaus is on the lighter side for heavyweight, but he likes to use that speed to his advantage. His wrestling isn't really there, but his striking's good and his jiu-jitsu sneaky good. He just hasn't had to use it yet. He's kind of had an easy run in the UFC with Parker Porter and Raggio Nascimento. Alessio Oleinik was a good win, though. That's where they actually wanted to see what he was about, and he passed the test. So, again, his ground game's good, his striking's good, his power's okay. His cardio should check out for how little he is. Like, he weighs in at like 230, 235 pounds. So he's barely a heavyweight, but he uses that to his advantage. So I honestly think that the ball is going to keep rolling and his next fight is going to be someone big. I know they're trying to keep him away from him, and Tom Aspinall are kind of the two new high prospect heavyweights, and they're younger. So they can roll for a while. So they're trying to keep them away from each other, but I don't know how much longer they can. So at this juncture, pick is going to be Daukaus, and the bet, I guess, would be Daukaus at this point. But that line is moving every time they rebook it, so it looks a little odd. Check the line. If it's starting to flip the other way, Vegas might know something we don't. So make sure you check it first. That's just not one of my most confident bets on the night. Otherwise, one that I was confident in until some oddness started happening is Dan Hooker as minus 150 coming up against Nazareth Hackpress at plus 125. We'll start with the Hangman. When you look at him, you just think of his striking initially right away. You think about how tall and lanky he is with a huge reach advantage. He does like to fight from distance. He doesn't want to go in and make it a dog fight. I mean, he does make everything a dog fight. Everything's a classic and a war, but he likes to stay technical at first. His cardio, he does seem to slow down, but he slows down in the fourth and fifth round. This is just a 3-round fight, which I'm sure he's welcoming after his wars with Felder, after his war with DP, and then just his little short-lived battle with Chandler. I know he got knocked out by Michael Chandler, one of the GOATs, but that's not normal. That's an anomaly. Chandler hits like a truck, and he's literally only been knocked out like one other time. He had a body punch knockout from Edson Barbosa, and I think that's it. So it's not like you go out there and you just knock him out. Tall, skinny guy, you just knock out easily. That's not normal. He is a little hittable though. He averages like 4 strikes, sort of 4 significant strikes per minute, but then he gets hit 4 significant strikes per minute as well. So he gives one to get one. But his schedule, man, like I said, he fought literally Michael Chandler, who just fought for a title, Dustin Poirier, who was a former champ, fought Paul Felder, who is no one to mess around with, Ali Quinta, another stud, Edson Barbosa, stud, James Vick, Gilbert Burns, former title challenger. The list goes on and on. So he definitely has a really, really tough strength of schedule. Nazareth, on the other hand, I can't say the same. However, I do want to let you know the kid's sneaky good, man. And the reason I said the kid is sneaky good is because he's also one of these younger fighters. He's also 26 years old, so you see him continually getting better and better. He looked a little sketchy in his last win because Rafa came in on short notice, and Rafa didn't look good in his second bout, so he might be a little bit of a fraud. We're not too certain. So it's not the greatest win for him. But at the same time, yeah, Rafa came in at short notice, but Nazareth also took the fight on. Like, Rafa is nothing like Arman Tsarukyan. Like, Nazareth probably would have lost to Arman Tsarukyan. That kid is real. But at the same time, like, Rafa's a completely different opponent. So I don't want to he took that fight too quickly. So I can't really fault him for that. Alex Munoz is a wrestler. Was able to dominate that fight. I mean, Nazareth has some really good striking, and he has some pretty good takedown defense. I know he also has some weigh-in issues at times, so do watch him on the scales. And honestly, the way to describe Nazareth is mini Gaslam. I've heard a lot of people say that, and that's definitely how I would describe him. Fights exactly like him, has the same body, kind of looks like him. It's just a mini Nazareth or mini Gaslam. I would say Hooker without a question. The problem is Hooker was having visa issues. He's not going to get in until Thursday. So he's going to be cutting weight like in the plane and trying to sleep as he's flying across the globe. So that's sketchy. I was all in on Nazareth at that point. It's dog price, but Nazareth also is not from America. Now it's having some visa issues. He was able to get his visa, and then I'm almost certain, don't quote me on it, I think his mother just passed. And first and foremost, my condolences if that's the case. And it's really tough to deal with. You see some fighters come in and just look phenomenal. Like the first name that came to mind is Cody Stamann when he lost his brother. He came in and fought Brian Kelleher and looked like a stud. He just never looked better in his life. He fought with so much emotion and just was determined to get that win for his brother. Then you look at people like Mano Martinez, who should have came in and smoked Guido, but his coach just died like a few weeks before, and he just didn't look the same. He was just too emotional and squeaked out a win. So you never know how fighters are going to react to something like that. So if he comes in determined, he's going to come in and shock the world and probably win inside the distance. If he's just too emotional, I mean, losing a parent is just not easy to deal with. I do feel for him. I don't know how he's going to react, how the weight cut's going to go. I don't know how his performance is going to go. So at that point, I would stay away from this fight. I wanted to make Hooker a kind of a lock until all of this stuff happened, and I just don't know which way it's going to go. So just the pick is going to be Hooker. The bet would unfortunately probably be Hooker, but I'm probably not going to bet it. And honestly, low-key root for Nazareth to try to just pull off the upset, just on an emotional standpoint. All right, and then we have the main event of the prelims. Already, we have Magic Marlon Moraes going up against Merab Dvalishvili. Marlon is a plus 205 dog. Merab is a minus 265 favorite. I don't know what to think of this fight, man. Something in my gut is telling me that the odds are off. Merab's a tank, man. I love Merab. He trains with the champ, yeah, he's the champ. He trains with the champ, Aljamain Sterling, currently. This dude has great cardio, and that's an understatement using the word great. He weaponizes his cardio. That's how good it is. Kind of like Guida in his prime. That's exactly what Merab does. Nonstop wrestling. This dude can wrestle day in, day out has great wrestling. He can't hold you down long. Like, he has fights where he's getting like 13, 16 takedowns, and I'm not exaggerating. But that means they're also getting up 12 to 15 times. So he's not the greatest at holding it down, but he'll get you down there. His striking is getting better. You see it improving. However, I mean, he can get backed up a little bit. And Marlon likes the pressure, so that'll be interesting. Again, he just has kind of like pedestrian striking. It's there without being there. He's a decision machine. I mean, Cody Stamen, John Dodson, Gustavo Lopez, Casey Kenny. I mean, just look at all of his wins. They're all submissions. Or sorry, they're all decisions. He just doesn't really have a ton of. He's jacked. He just doesn't have a ton of finishing power for whatever reason. Then you get the flip side, and Marlon's the complete opposite. Marlon is finish or bust. He hits like a fucking truck. He has really good striking. His Brazilian jiu-jitsu is super good. His wrestling's okay. It's really not that bad. But he does have a suspect chin. He's just getting a little up there in age. He's 33 currently, and he keeps getting knocked out, man. He got knocked out by Rob Font. He got knocked out by Corey Sandhagen. Got knocked out by Henry Cejudo. And I kind of feel for him, in all honesty. Because he's so good that you can't just go in and throw him in with a scrub. Look at the murderer's row of people he's fighting. Assunção, Dodson, Sterling, Jimmy Rivera, Assunção, Cejudo, Aldo, Sandhagen, Font. Like, he has not had an easy, not even easy. He hasn't had a decent fight since 2016. He's been fighting the top of the division for literally 5 years now. And he's doing well for himself. He has this little run of knockouts. And luckily the UFC's given him like a top 5 guy that doesn't have knockout power. But Marlon's only other fault currently is his cardio. Merab has the best cardio in the division. So it does concern me. Merab, it's not like he's picture perfect. I mean, he has 4 losses on his record. You can take out Merab. And that's exactly what Marlon's going to have to do. For whatever reason, it keeps playing in my head of him getting the decision. Or, I mean, Ricky Simone guillotined them. I could see something like that. Marlon's sneaky good, man. But I will always go cardio over someone that needs to finish. So the pick is going to be Merab. The bet, honestly, would be, I wouldn't take Merab by decision. I think it's a trap. Just because he finishes every fight by decision. Marlon, every loss is not by decision. So something's got to break in that instance. So I would just take Merab straight up. It's not like minus 265. It's the absolute worst. Not a ton of value, but you could throw it in parlays and make it a little better. Otherwise, we're to the main event, folks. And I have another dog play here. I think I'm on a little bit of an island, but we have Jessica Andrade as way too big a favorite at minus 290. Going up against Cynthia Calvillo at plus 220. Here's the problem, and this is where I see the upset coming. Jessica Andrade is good. Jessica Andrade goes forward. She has really good striking. She has pretty good wrestling. Her jiu-jitsu, she's a black belt, but it seems a little suspect for whatever reason. She has pretty decent volume, a ton of power. Like, there's not a lot of faults in Jessica Andrade. And she's, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, she's not a bad wrestler. That's not what I'm trying to say. However, I'm looking at her fights here, and Valentina Shevchenko took her down a million times with ease. She just body locked her and took her down. I mean, it's not the first time I saw that. I mean, going back and watching film, like Tisha Torres is a Mexican boxer, and she took her down multiple times. Claudia Gadelha took her down multiple times. Yes, she got the win over Claudia. Yes, she got the win over Tisha. But Cynthia's not the greatest striker in the world. It's okay. Like I said with Merab, it's pretty pedestrian at best. However, the one thing she does want to do is she wants to wrestle. And in all honesty, Jessica Andrade, Cynthia used to be a 115 pounder. She kept struggling to make the weight, so she had to move up. Jessica was the 115 champ, but they're probably about the same size. So Cynthia's not going to have to wrestle someone that's probably a little bigger than her. She's going to actually wrestle someone her size. If she can take Jessica down, even if she can't hold her the whole time, if she can do it for like half the round and do it every single round, she has a chance. And if you're telling me it's a 50-50 fight, you're telling me someone that wants to solely wrestle is going against someone that was struggling against a Muay Thai boxer getting taken down, and it's plus 220 on the wrestler.
I just see the value there. I know it sounds crazy. I know Cynthia Calvillo is not good, but matchups make fights. And at that point, the dogs are barking, man. So the pick is going to be Calvillo. Bet straight up Calvillo. All right, then next fight of the night, we have Curtis Razor Blades going up against Jairzinho Rosenstruck. Blades is a minus 325 favorite. Come back on Rosenstruck plus 245. This fight's weird, man. I mean, in all honesty, you should say it's Blades easy, Blades by decision. Like, that's what common sense says. However, his wrestling is undeniable. Best wrestling in the heavyweight division currently. Case, period. There's no question about it. Cardio, probably the best cardio. The amount he wrestles and the amount of effort that takes, probably he trains at Team Elevation. Probably the best cardio in the heavyweight division, period. No questions about it. His striking, improving. It's not the best, but he does what he has to do to make you worry and then takes you down. And if he taps your knee and then clocks you with his overhand right, I mean, it's effective. He has knockouts doing that. Knocked out Junior Dos Santos. Like, he knocked out Alistair Overeem with the elbow. Like, he can knock you out. And then at the same time, people say he's chinny. That's the problem. Is he chinny? The one thing I don't like is someone coming back and fighting a power puncher after they just got knocked out. They come back too soon. I mean, he got knocked out earlier this year. I mean, he took a lot of time off. It was February. He's coming back in September. That's enough time, in all honesty. It's just, I can't say he has a weak chin. The dude's 14-3. He has 3 knockout losses. So that is true. But you know who has the most knockout wins in the UFC history? Derek Lewis. He hits fucking hard. You know who the current UFC champion is, who wins all of his fights by knockout? Francis Ngannou. He hits fucking hard. Those are the 2 hardest power punchers in the UFC. So is there a shame saying you got knocked out by those 2? Are you chinny? Or did you just get caught by literally the 2 guys that hit the hardest? My only concern with this fight is that he's facing Rosenstruck, who probably hits the 3rd hardest in the UFC. Like, Rosenstruck, you go over. Sorry about that. Allergies are going to go away eventually. They can't stay for 3 months straight, but they're certainly trying. You go over to Rosenstruck. I mean, in all honesty, he doesn't throw a lot at all. Sorry. He doesn't throw a lot at all. That's where his biggest concern is. His volume is super, super low, but he doesn't have to throw a lot. So all he has to do is touch you once and you're going out. He is awfully hittable too. But I think the only reason he's hittable is because he throws so little. It's not like he's going out there and just getting demolished. He's just barely throwing, so people hit him as he's just standing there waiting for that perfect shot. And he's openly admitted that he has to go in and pressure a little more, get a little more active in there. So at least he realizes the issue. I would like to have seen it implemented a little more against Augustus Sakai. Yes, he knocked him out in the first round. Yeah, he threw a little bit more, but it wasn't a ton more. He talked a big game about realizing he has to be a little more active, but they showed us just a little, like, touch more, like that he recognized it, but he's not going to actively pursue it. He predicates himself on his conditioning, saying that he has really good conditioning, but I think it's just because he doesn't throw. And I'm scared that, like, if he goes in and throws a lot, he is going to gas out. I'm also concerned about his ground game because Alistair Overeem, even though he has a win, even though he knocked him out in the last few seconds there, he got dominated for 5 rounds and he got taken down by Overeem like 4 or 5 times. And Overeem is not a wrestler. That's concerning to me because that means Blades can probably go out there and take him down at will. Blades is a 265-pound wet blanket, and he has some ferocious ground and pound. So I will never bet against a wrestler. If you give me a puncher's chance against a wrestler, I will always take the wrestler. So I am going to have to take Blades as the pick. In regards to the bet, there is value on Rosenstruck. I'm not going to fault you if you chase that dog because he does have 15 minutes to just land one punch on the chin, essentially. However, I don't want to parlay Blades. So I'm probably going to have to pass. If there's anything I'm going to do, the over-under is actually set at 2.5 because Blades always wins by decision. And they expect Blades to win, being a minus 300 favorite. So if I had to bet something, I'd probably bet the under. Because there is a possibility of Blades taking him down and just ground and pounding him and getting the fight finished. And if he shoots in and he gets caught with something by Rosenstruck, it's going to happen early and he's going to get finished. So the safest bet would be not pick a side and just take the under. But I'd probably just stay away from the fight in general. All right. And then next fight of the night is the big one, the one everyone's talking about, the people's main event. Ruthless Robbie Lawler up against Nick Diaz. Straight pick him. Who you got? We will start with this middleweight bout, and that's going to be with Nick Diaz, the one and the only, solely on the fact that he looks big to me. I'm a little concerned about him making middleweight, even though this fight was booked at welterweight. Basically, Nick said Tuesday night, I'm not going to make welterweight. We could do this fight, but it's going to have to be at middleweight. You down, Robbie. Knowing Robbie is going to say yes, like, it makes me think, was he never going to make welterweight? Did he have no intention of making welterweight and just was like really huge and let Robbie suck himself out? Like, Diaz does so many mind games that I don't know what's true or what's up and what's down. What I do know is that the dude has phenomenal jiu-jitsu, top level. I know that he has great striking, sneaky good power, considering he looks like a toothpick out there, but a lot of volume, a lot of strikes, and it looks good. Great jiu-jitsu if he gets taken down, because his wrestling is suspect. It's not everything at that camp. Nick Diaz, Martin, looking at what's the other guy's name, Max. Their wrestling is very, very questionable at Cesar Gracie. I don't know if they just skipped those lessons or what's going on there. But there are some serious red flags, and I think the fanboy in us is making us bet Diaz. It's just the 5 rounds helps him. I'll tell you that. For however he got this fight to be a 5-round non-title fight, he worked wonders, because that definitely works out in his favor. The problem is the dude hasn't fought in 6 years. He looks weird when he's shadow boxing. He doesn't look as crisp as he used to. I mean, the Diaz bros, when you just talk to them, they hate interviews. They're very socially awkward. Whenever you talk to them, they would just shadow box all the time. That's kind of like their safety mechanism. People like rub on stuff or have something they like to look at, but they shadow box. That's what they do. It just doesn't look fast or crisp. It looks like he's 38 years old, because that's what he is. He's 38 years old. Don't get me wrong. Robbie is no spring chicken. Robbie's 39. Robbie's older than Nick. And I know you're going to say, Nick already beat him. He knocked him out. Yeah, but that was like 21-year-old Robbie Lawler. Was it 17 years ago? They're not the same fighters. And I mean, when you really look at it, Nick Diaz's schedule, beating Paul Daly, losing to Carlos Condit. Who else did he beat? Evangelista Santos, like Cyborg's ex-husband. All those wins at Strikeforce, KJ Nunez, they're all fine and dandy. But during that time frame, as he's fighting the best of the best in Strikeforce, dude, Robbie was fighting as the welterweight champion of the world in the UFC. Like, this dude was fighting Matt Brown when he was still decent. He was fighting Johnny Hendricks. He was fighting Rory McDonald. He was fighting Carlos Condit. Like, he was in some wars, man. And yes, he's on a 4-fight losing streak, but you have to look at who he lost to. I mean, he lost to RDA, who's a former champ. He lost to Ben Askren, and that bulldog choke was questionable. And you're looking, I had money on Askren that night and dodged a bullet. You look at Colby Covington, who's probably one of the best fighters in the welterweight division, the former title challenger and the next title challenger. Look at Neil Magny, who's been a dark horse of the division since like 2015. This dude doesn't lose. He just keeps going on 10-fight losing streaks and then losing. As soon as he's like 1 fight to win from a title, he always loses those big fights. But like, he's lost to nothing but top 5 guys in the division, period. And you look at Diaz, he hasn't fought in 6 years. So they're both good strikers. One has been working on it. And Robbie moved to Sanford. That's the camp he went to. And Sanford is a damn good camp. I mean, Gilbert Burns, formerly Kamaru Usman, Michael Chandler. I mean, Sanford is a really, really good camp, and he's training with the best of the best every week. Vicente Luque, oh God. So, I mean, it pains me to say I love Diaz. I'm hyped for the return, but the pick is going to have to be the guy that's been fighting the last 6 years. So by default, I do have to go Lawler, and it's a straight pick 'em. So you can just bet Lawler straight up. I know his cardio's okay. It's going to be enough for 5 rounds. I don't think Nick's going to go out and finish him. Realistically, Robbie only has to win the first 3 rounds and then just survive, as long as he doesn't get 10-8'd. And I don't see Nick 10-8ing him. So the pick would be Lawler as well, unfortunately. Next fight of the night, not going to waste too much of your time. We have Valentina Shevchenko, one of the GOATs, up against Lauren Murphy. Not so lucky Lauren Murphy. The odds, not even going to mention them. They were in like the thousands. It was insane. Lauren Murphy is like a +5 something dog, and there's for good reason. I mean, the only thing I'm even looking at about betting is the over under. Set at 2.5. And that's interesting because Lauren's never been finished. She's pretty durable. But you can say the same thing about Jessica I, who fought Valentina. It was never finished, and then Valentina had kicked her to hell. Made her a highlight. Andrade gets finished sometimes, so that's nothing new. But I mean, we'll start with Lauren out of respect. I am happy Lauren's getting this title fight. I would have been a little upset if she didn't. She's on a 5-fight winning streak. There's no one else at 125. You have to give it to, at least give Valentina someone new. And Lauren, she did all she could. She won 5 straight. She beat people like JoJo. Give her the title shot. And they did. They were hesitant. She's not a huge draw, but they did what they were supposed to do. So I am happy for Lauren Murphy. She more than deserves this. She's a decent striker. Sneaky good wrestling that no one knows about. Sneaky good submissions that no one knows about. The wrestling's a little overrated, and she's a little hittable. She averages 3.9 significant strikes per minute. She gets hit about 4.2. So she's taking more than she's giving out, which is not good fighting Valentina. She does have a tendency to start a little slow, and she's older. I mean, she's like 39 years old. Here's the major problem I have with this fight. She's 38. Sorry, the shortchanger. So here's my problem. Lauren Murphy is on a 5-fight winning streak. She beat Mauro Barella, who is ass. Andrea Lee split decision. I thought Andrea Lee won. I see how Lauren can win, but it was very questionable. So we'll say she's at 1.5 wins. Roxanne Medaferi, she's not the greatest fighter in the world. Lilia Shakarova, she took the fight on like a week's notice, and she's not even, I don't even think she's a flyweight. She just kind of showed up, and we've never seen her again. And JoJo Calderwood, good win. Split decision. I thought Lauren won. She dominated on the ground. Here's the problem. JoJo has terrible takedown defense. Lauren knew that. She's a smart fighter. Love that about Lauren. Problem is, on the feet, she was having a little bit of issues against JoJo. JoJo is a great striker. She's a Muay Thai striker. Valentina Shevchenko is world-class Muay Thai. Valentina Shevchenko has good wrestling. Valentina Shevchenko is good on the ground. I am petrified for Lauren Murphy. I am happy for her and scared at the same time, because in all honesty, you want to talk about some of the goats of MMA? Oh my God. You could say Amanda Nunez is the GOAT, but at the same time, Valentina, if Amanda Nunez is the GOAT, there's no question that Valentina is number 2. Yes, she's 21-3. She has 3 losses, you would say. Here's the problem with those 3 losses. Liz Carmouche's loss was a cut, doctor stoppage. It's not like Liz went out there and dominated her. It was literally 11 years ago, and she got cut, and they had to stop the fight. She did not lose, per se. It was a cut. Next loss was to Amanda Nunez, and I think she lost that fight. The problem is that's at 135. Again, she is a flyweight. She was fighting up at 135 because she was that good. Why cut the extra weight? She then beat people like Holly Holm, who was a former champ, and Juliana Pena, who was about to fight for the title. And then she fought the GOAT, Amanda Nunez, again. And you know what? Amanda Nunez got a split decision win, and I call bullshit. That was a robbery. Valentina won that fight. Hands down. So I'm looking at it as, if you ever want to see the GOAT of flyweight fight the GOAT of bantamweight, we saw it. We saw it twice. And you know what? Amanda won the first. And in all honesty, I think Valentina won the second. So she's fighting, Amanda fights as heavy as 145. So she's going up a weight class to fight someone they consider the GOAT and going to a split decision and getting screwed. This girl, I don't know why they ever gave her Priscilla. I feel bad for Priscilla in that instance. She got to show off her ground game a little, but then she's like just untouchable at 125. You can't, she's the best wrestler, the best striker, and the best on the ground all at the same time. So pick is Valentina. But the odds are too high. So then you look at the over-under, and Lauren's never been finished, and you look at that 2.5 at even money, and it looks good. But Valentina's so much smoother than Lauren. It's a straight pass. If you have to bet, if you can get like if the line moves and you can get plus money on that 2.5, I'd take it. Otherwise, stay the fuck away from this fight because Valentina just costs too much, and Lauren doesn't stand a chance. All right, and then the last fight of the night, the main event. We got Brian T. City Ortega, love the nickname, up against Alexander the Great Volkanovski. We will start with T. City because he's the plus 135 dog currently. Volkanovski minus 170 favorite. And I did write the over under for this one. This one came out early. It's the main over set at 4.5. Over 4.5 minus 135, under 4.5 at plus 105. Let's start with T City. Great jiu-jitsu, maybe the best in the featherweight division. Very durable, never been finished, very tough to finish. Cardio, great. Is great cardio. You can go all day long. Those are the positives. His striking, the striking we saw against Korean Zombie is, I've never seen Brian strike like that. He took a big time off from that title fight where he got obliterated by Max Holloway. He took 2 years off and then came back and didn't look like the same man. He just looked like he's been training the whole 2 years and he looked phenomenal on the feet. Here's the problem with that. I think he caught Zombie off guard. I think Zombie was more worried about the ground game, which in all honesty is stupid because Ortega can't wrestle. I like Ortega. I like T City. He's a cool dude. Not the best wrestler, not a strong suit, but he has great striking now, so it doesn't matter. Like he's fine either way, kind of like a Diaz brother. The problem is his strength of schedule, man. I mean, I'm looking at it. He fought featherweight GOAT Max Holloway and got destroyed and stopped. I mean, he didn't stop, but the doctor had to jump in. He fought Frankie Aker, but Frankie's like 40-something years old. Like he just caught him with an uppercut. Nothing against Ortega that he was supposed to, but I mean, he fought an old Frankie, fought an old Cub. He fought Renato Moicano, choked him out. So those are good wins. He's finishing all of them. He's doing what he's supposed to do. No shame thrown at Ortega. Problem is, they're two old men. And that Moicano fight, he was losing. And he came back and pulled off the nice submission. Gets the crowd pumped, excited, but I don't want to see you losing to Renato Moicano. I sure as hell don't want to see you losing to Clay Guida because he was getting killed by Clay Guida. And then he came back and he finished him with knees and punches. I mean, the dude hits hard. He has great subs, but you can't be losing to people like that. And it's just, if he doesn't come back and get those wins, we're talking about him having 2 straight losses. He's not even getting this high up. So, like, that concerns me. And it really concerns me against Volk is someone that I keep betting against because I keep betting damn Max and I can't get it right. The first Max fight, I did think Volk won. The second one, I thought Max won. My eyes are 1-1, but still, for you to be going that close to for them to be split decisions against Max Holloway, that's super, super impressive. He's 22-1. He only has 1 loss. I think he got submitted, or was it a split? Oh, he got knocked out. Which again, MMA shit happens, but I mean, his strength of schedule also isn't the greatest in regards to Darren Elkins. It is what it is. Chad Mendez was kind of at the end of his career. You have Jose Aldo. It's looking good at bantamweight. He might actually be a bantamweight. And then the questionable Max ones. I mean, he did what he was supposed to. Shane Young, decent win. There's no fault in Ortega. And Volkanovski. He's just good everywhere. To me, he's just a generalist, but like if there's something higher than a generalist, because he's not just like decent everywhere, he's good everywhere. He can wrestle even though that's not his background. He has a good ground game even though it's not his background. And he has good striking even though it's not his background. He tears your leg up. He tears it up. And I don't know how many of those Ortega can take. he has a big reach advantage because again, Volkanovski used to weigh like 240 pounds or something crazy like that. Now he's fighting at 145. And you know what the crazy thing is? Sounds stupid. He is a super slow starter, but Volk said he shaved his head because all the heroes are bald. He started to name people like Dana White and Joe Rogan, which I mean, to each their own. But I don't know. The best Ortega ever looked is when he shaved his head bald. So maybe bald Volk comes out and just kills it. But in all honesty, I just need to show Volk a little more respect than I have been. So I'm done going against him. If Ortega wins and screws me, I'm just going to be done betting on Volk fights in general. But I'm going to finally side with him, give the champ some credit. So the pick is going to be Volk. And honestly, minus 170, not the worst in the world. I'd probably parlay him. And then if you're up and he's the last leg of your parlay, you could throw some money Ortega if you need to and just kind of counteract it and hedge. At least it's a good hedging opportunity. Otherwise, I'll bet Volk and I'll pick Volk to win as well. So that's it. UFC 266. We're going to get on this UFC pay-per-view winning ways. We're ready to do work. We had a good week last week, just continually letting it roll. Again, our official picks are placed on Instagram and Twitter. The link will be in the description. We do it every Saturday morning. If you have any questions, go ahead, make some comments on there. And otherwise, let's get these picks in. Let's watch these weigh-ins. Let's watch some fights on Saturday. We out.